if your front differential on your 3rd gen Toyota Tacoma is leaking where the drive shaft goes into it, that's going to be the pinion seal, and that's what we're replacing today. What you're going to need is you're going to need a 30mm to take off the pinion nut. You're going to need a 14mm and a 14mm box wrench or a crescent wrench, whichever you have. You're going to need a seal puller to remove the seal. You're going to want a little sledge and a little flathead to reopen the castle nut. You're going to want a couple zip ties to tie up the drive shaft so it's out of your way. You're going to want a small breaker bar or a pry bar, so that way you can separate the drive shaft from the companion flange. A 3-jaw puller is definitely going to help get the pinion flange off of the pinion. A large flathead without a rubber base on the back of it, so it's steel all the way through, so that way you can stake the nut back into there so it doesn't move. Thread locker, so you can relock up all the bolts that go onto the drive shaft with 14mm front and backs. Let's get started. So this one is completely tight still. What I've been doing with the impact is just hitting it loose with the big boy. And then now it's completely loose and I can just take it off by hand. I don't need to back it up. So currently I have all the bolts off. The drive shaft is still stuck in there. And as I spin this, you're gonna see where my seal is separated out much further right there than the rest of it. So that's probably where our leak's coming from, that little section right there. What we're gonna do now is I'm gonna try to do this on camera. I'm gonna grab a leverage bar out of my little tool tray and parts tray, and we're gonna wedge this under here, and it shouldn't take much more than a light bump right there. So a light bump was able to wedge it. I saw it broke loose right there. So I'll go ahead and tie that out of the way up to the top with some welding wire. So zip tie worked the best. There's a little bracket up there you can zip tie it to. You want to give yourself a little bit of space in there. Once you get that exposed, you're going to see a 30mm nut right here. It is staked, so make sure you spin this in a direction so that way it's going to be easiest for you to work on, because what we're going to do is we're going to pry out where it is staked so it's opened enough so we can spin this nut off. Before you do that, you're going to want to mark out how many threads you have exposed, because there's a certain amount of quote-unquote preload that's on this nut. We want to get it back to the same spot, so we don't want to over tighten it, we don't want to under tighten it. So count how many threads you have exposed right here, measure it, figure it out, take a close-up picture, whatever it's going to take for you to get this back into the exact same spot it was before. So after chiseling out, this was the section up here, I chiseled it out, cleared it. I touched it with the impact to see if it would come off easily, and it took almost no effort with the impact, and it's pretty much hand loose now. There we go. So boom, we're gonna wanna save this nut. So if you can, while it's out, clean up the inside of the threads, make sure there's no debris in between the two of them. If you needed to open this up because it was eating at the threads or something, now's the time to do it, because we're gonna reuse this nut. I'm gonna go ahead and set it in the parts tray next to the other nuts and bolts and things, and that should leave us with this piece right here. Just pulling on it feels like it's pretty fucking secure in there. I've seen some people try to just tap it off. I have a puller, so I'm just gonna try to use the puller if it fits in here. So I got the three-piece jaws on here. Went ahead and cranked it up in there, and it started pulling out. As you can see, it's moving already. It's hand loose at this point, so I'm going to take the jaws off, and I'll go ahead and pull it off by hand, and we'll see how the seal looks. Once you have the pinion flange off, you're going to want to take it off, clean it up as much as you can, and right around here you're going to see what's called a witness mark. What you want to do is make sure that that bad seal hasn't gouged anything, so you want to take your nail and run it across there to see if you feel any sort of indentation whatsoever. So I have a mark right here, but I don't feel anything in the groove, so that's kind of just my witness line right there. Additionally, I have a little bit of a spot right there, but again, even the glove on here won't catch on it. So fairly happy. I'll make sure that that's as smooth as it is. It's probably under the face of it, so it's not an issue, but go ahead and make sure if you have any issues or if you have a gouge right there, you're gonna need to replace this. Ooh. Bumped you guys with the creeper. Are you still in? You're still in. All right, so this is our seal right here. Pinion spins freely, no drag. What I can see though is there's broken pieces of rubber inside of here. So I'm gonna wanna make sure that I check the inside after I remove the seal for any broken pieces of rubber. Using a seal puller, we're gonna go ahead and probably use the short side. We wanna make sure that we don't use the edge of this to gouge the inside right here, otherwise we're not gonna have a good seat. It's probably gonna have to be removed, the whole front differential housing, re-sleeved or resealed or machined, all that fun shit. So we're gonna go ahead and lightly, see if I can do this without bumping you guys. Try to creep this tool just barely on the inside of the seal. Ooh, just enough, and just leverage it to the side. Doesn't work very good when you're on a creeper. Make sure. Yeah. Just double checking because I couldn't really see where the punch of my seal puller was, so there we go. And she's just about free right there. Pull her the rest of the way. We're gonna get a little bit of oil out of here. Probably not very much from me because I didn't change my front axles and everything the other day and had to pull them out to fix my CV when I did the long travel and all that fun stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and set the seal puller down to the side. And this is just sitting in here. I just placed it in here so I have time to go get a rag and a oil catch can. I'm gonna drop my front skid plate too. So here's my old seal. This piece right here was done from pulling it out, but you can see the rest of the tattering, little piece hanging off. That was all like that from the damage and why it was leaking too. So this is what faces on the outside, the large rubber part. The middle part with the hollow inside is going to be facing into the differential. So this is what you should see before you put the pinion flange on. And in case everybody's asking, here's the new one, comes nicely done. There's your part numbers. It's gonna come in its own little clamshell packaging. And looks nice and beautiful, should be good to go. And I have polished up a 2.5-inch copper mail adapter because I'm a boiler technician, and it's a perfect fit around the outside of this. So it's all polished, there's no rough edges on it, and just gonna use it to drive it in. So real quick, before I took the old seal out, I wiped up all the grease and everything. That's kind of the time to do it. If you happen to spray something and it gets on the old seal, it's not gonna be a big deal. You don't want to spray anything that could possibly damage the new seal, as most of the outside of it is rubber. Big gasp. Let's go ahead and take a look at the inside. Make sure there's no pitting, marring, debris, wipe it down. I like to use an old t-shirt. They don't really leave much material behind like some of the terry cloths do, so wipe it down really good. Go ahead and make sure all the grooves are clean. There is a little lip back here. You can see it right there. And that's where the seal needs to seat to. So the seal needs to seat right there, and you should be able to hear the difference from it moving to it no longer moving and pressed up against the face of the seat right there. So again, go ahead, make sure everything's clean, make sure the inside's clean, and then go ahead and hand fit in your seal. Cool. All right. So I've got this hand fit already in here as straight as I could possibly get it to go. Because it's such a perfect fit, it's kind of a little bit of a chore to get all of the inside lips to fit inside of the mating surface of the differential housing. So right now this side is slightly up higher than the rest of this. So that's where the key comes into using, like if you have a good seal driver or a piece of pipe that's going to fit over here perfectly, you want to do that opposed to trying to use a punch on this, because if you try to use a punch to tap this all the way around, you're going to destroy the rubber face of this, and it's all one piece, so it'll end up deteriorating the seal around the housing as well. So I have this, which has already been polished, which we talked about. And since I'm high on this side, I'm high all the time, but I'm high on this side right here, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a light tap without bashing my fingers into the frame key member. So So I could feel it move a little bit right there. I'm gonna check my seal, make sure we're not doing any damage to it. Looks like it's good. And I'm just gonna gently keep working it. It still feels a little bit higher on this side, so I'm gonna keep working it from the side right there. Make sure that I'm not damaging the inside. Ooh, shit. Good thing the hammer doesn't go deep enough. We're seating really well into there. It's pretty even right now. So now I just want to keep working it around, tapping it evenly until we get to that point where it can no longer sit into the housing anymore. Check our seal continuously to make sure we're not damaging it, just in case something happens to get in between the surfaces. This is not the part you want to rush on. One spot right here that's not completely flush yet. I want to get it completely flush as much as I can right now while I have that little edge as a guide, so that way I know I'm not sending it in crooked or anything like that out of alignment when I go to tap the rest of it in, because the rest is going to take a little bit more force as we get further in there. Also sounding a lot more solid in there too. So again, even though it's sounding solid in one spot, I want to make sure it's solid evenly all the way around. So it feels like it's a little lower in this corner, so I'm going to get the rest of this side and this side all the way through. Right there's good, right there's good. This section still feels high where my hand is. Beautiful. Still kind of a hair high up there. And at this point, I'm probably just being a little bit of a perfectionist, but I don't really want to do this job twice. There we go. I felt it tight right there. And it's perfectly even all the way around right there, so I'm really happy with that. So next we're gonna go make sure that the companion flange is completely clean, surfaces are clean, double check the threads on this, make sure they're clean, we didn't get anything marred in there. Double check our nut to make sure the threads on our nut are clean as well too. Then we're gonna go ahead and go about setting it to the same spot. Yeah, fitting the camera under the truck and working under it is kind of a bitch, so sorry if it's not perfectly centered. Sucks. So there we go. Slid right into its spot that it needed to be. We're good to go. Of course, I forgot to double check my nut while I was out here, so I'm just gonna double check it real quick. We're good to go. Hopefully you guys took pictures or remembered how many threads were on the outside of this, so that way we can get it back into the same spot, maintaining the same amount of preload. I have the impact to do this, but I'll probably end up doing it with the ratchet, just for a little bit more control, unless I absolutely need to use the impact to do it. And of course, I forgot to grab a 1/2" ratchet for this. We're getting pretty close to it. You know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it, we'll use the impact. Just be very gentle with it. At this point, we need to get about 350 degrees, so I'm just gonna watch my socket. It went about 180. Alright, that was our 360 right there. Okay, so I'm really close to, nope, I need to go around one more time. Hard to see the threads from that angle. Alright, so I need a very, very small amount extra to go. Cunt hairs. Ooh. Really don't want to overdo it. Oh, fuck yeah. Titties. Titties right in the same spot that it needs to be in. Got exactly where I want it, where I'm going to be happy with it. You know what? I think I can see where a face was touching, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'm gonna get my camera and make sure that's all good. Or I'm gonna get my light off camera and make sure that's all good to go right there before we go ahead and restake that down. So the zip tie has been cut on the drive shaft and removed, so that way it doesn't melt to the exhaust later if we're not paying attention to it. And what we're gonna do is we have some Loctite right here for our bolts. We are going to put a dot, a literal fucking dot, people. Like, that's all you need. You don't need more than that. We're gonna set this in. It's telescoping drive shaft, so it will back off. And then push it forward. It'll fit right in there. Make sure everything lines up, all your holes and all that fun stuff. Loctite facing up. Not that it's gonna matter, it's not gonna sit there that long. I'm gonna hand tight all of these and get them just fit and make sure they're all threaded properly before I go ahead and back them up and hit them with the impact. So you guys get to watch me do that right now because my hands are too greasy to turn off the phone. Maybe I'll edit it out, maybe I won't. Oh god, that feels like forever. Okay, cool. Look at this consistency. A fucking dot. A fucking dot. That was more than I would have liked to anyways. But a dot, nonetheless. Aim small, miss small. No. It sucks. I gotta find it. Alright, guess we're doing that one last. If I was a real influencer, I'd edit that out. You wouldn't know I dropped it. I would have just finished looking like I was tightening up something. But this is real life. And my hands are greasy, so you guys are gonna watch all of it right now. And I'm not going to do it on camera right now, but there's a Zerg fitting in here on the U-joint. I'm going to go ahead and grease up both of these while I'm down here because I'm the only person that services this vehicle, and I know I didn't do it when I did the last one. So we'll take care of that while it's down here as well. But other than that, our seal is in there. Our flange is locked up in there. Drive shaft's back on. We should be able to go ahead and fill and top off the front differential with any fluid that was lost. And I'm gonna go ahead and drain and just replace my fluid while it's in there. And I have I have a fill plug with the raised head and a drain plug with the raised head, so I don't have to deal with those Torx fittings anymore in there. Hopefully this helped you guys, and let me know if you have any questions.